Welcome to Catholic Ed for All, your weekly insight into topics of special education in Catholic schools. My name is Dr. Raul Escarpio, and I invite you to join me each week as we learn how to be more inclusive in Catholic schools and continue to live out St. John Paul II's message of open wide the doors to Christ. Many thanks go out to RCL Benziger, who is generously sponsoring this podcast. RCL Benziger enriches the worldwide Catholic community by providing the most engaging and highest quality resources, programs, and services rooted in the rich and diverse tradition of the Catholic faith. And now, on to our show. On the show today, I am joined by Mrs. Beth Foraker, founder and director of the National Catholic Board on Full Inclusion. Why, hello there, Beth. Welcome to the show and thanks for being here.
Hi, Raul. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Beth, for those that don't know, can you please tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm married to a really great guy whose name is John. We have 4 children. My oldest is Jack. He's 25. He's in grad school. I have a daughter named Mary Kate, who's 23, learning to be a nurse. I have a son who's 19 named Patrick, who has Down syndrome. He's a freshman in college. Happy to tell you that. And then I have a daughter who's 12 in 7th grade named Caroline. I also am a classroom teacher. I was a classroom teacher in the public school setting for 13 years. And then I left when Patrick was born because he had a lot of complications at birth and after birth. And then took a break for 7 years and then became a supervisor lecturer at UC Davis in the School of Education, helping beginning teachers. And then Patrick, my son, was fully included kindergarten through 8th grade at our local parish Catholic school. You know how God's grace is. I had the blessing of teaching a student with Down syndrome in 5th grade as a public school teacher. So I knew the capability of students with Down syndrome, and I knew how influential it was for me and for our public school. And so the principal at St. James said yes, and Patrick was fully included kindergarten through 8th grade. So at the end of 8th grade, it became really apparent that people shouldn't have to know Patrick to go to Catholic school. So I founded a nonprofit that works nationally across the United States in all parishes and dioceses to stand with families as they ask their parish school to include their student with a disability, and then to support through mentorship and through problem solving and connection the schools when they say yes, all for free. And so now I devote my time to both UC Davis, helping beginning teachers, and now helping Catholic schools across the nation.
You and I have a lot of things in common, Beth, because I'm the same way. I work at a college and I work with beginning teachers and I mentor them as well. And what I think we most have in common, Beth, is that we have a very strong passion for inclusion in our Catholic schools. And it's been an amazing ride so far. I'm sure you can attest to that, right, Beth? Just trying to get everything in order. But in our Thanksgiving episode, which we are doing right now, I want to tell the audience how thankful we are for inclusion. So I'll start with you, Beth. Can you tell the audience why you're so thankful that inclusion is starting to take shape in Catholic schools? And then we'll talk about some examples.
Oh, absolutely. We started our foundation, our nonprofit, in 2014, and already a lot of threads were starting to come together. But in the past 4 years, so we celebrate our 4-year anniversary on November 3rd, and it has been absolutely stunning to watch what has happened. There is a lot of momentum gathering. We call it, you and me, Raul, simmering. The pot is simmering to a boil.
Simmer to a boil.
As far as we consider inclusion, and it is really starting to boil. It is beautiful to see nationwide. It is on the radar of so many more schools. It's now something people consider. We're starting to have allies that have typical children who are asking their schools to be inclusive of students with disabilities that they know. When you start having allies like that, it changes the whole dynamic. So I am so grateful for the good work that's happening across the nation.
And if I can add to that, I am also grateful and thankful at the same time because it used to be a grassroots movement, right, my friend? We used to have it,
Yeah,
it used to be basically from the bottom to the top. And now
yep,
we have special people leading the cause throughout the United States, and it's taking a top down approach. We're actually starting at the diocesan level, and we're
yep.
trying to put systems in place, and I just think it's fantastic for the way that this is going.
Well, we're doing the squeeze now, which always helps. We got the bottom up, and we got the top down, and we're squeezing in the center, and it's coming. I mean, it is so beautiful to see. I 100% agree. We have beautiful leadership at the national level, at the diocesan level, and at the school level. It's really special.
When you say the squeeze level, it makes me think of toothpaste. So, so that's interesting right there. Okay, so let's talk about some of the things. Let's help people out that are listening to this episode right now, and let's just share some insight as to what they can do if they want to start a special education going. I'll start, and I'll talk about the good people at the Greeley Center, where Dr. Mike Boyle is there, and all the wonderful people that can basically provide certification programs for leaders and for teachers that want to become more inclusive.
Yeah, absolutely. The Greeley Center is a national leader for sure. We also have the Notre Dame University and Christy Bonfiglio, who has formed a group called PI, Program for Inclusive Education, also working to train, give professional development to teachers, also online, so that you don't have to be near Notre Dame. We had one of the first PI people lived in Hawaii. And we have Loyola Marymount in California, also working to educate professional teachers in Catholic schools. And then we have, what I love to see is kind of the collaboration. So at Boston College, we have the Roche Center and some fantastic professors there. Now, they are not working specifically on inclusion with disabilities, but they're doing a ton on second language learners. And whatever you're going to do to support second language learners supports students with disabilities. They work hand in glove. They're just best practices in teaching. So I consider the Roche Center's work also to be inclusive, and it's beautiful.
I also want to give some shout outs to the Diocese of Grand Rapids with Jill Annable that's there, that is starting.
Yes.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
doing wonderful things there. The Archdiocese of Washington,
Yep.
with I know there's some great principals. I'm thinking of Vincent Spadoni there, and I'm thinking of all the great people. Victoria Graff,
Yep.
who's also doing great work. But let's shift a moment to our students. I know we always talk about the mindset, or even let's do a mind shift right now. Let's talk about how the students are benefiting now from a more inclusive environment in Catholic schools, Beth.
Okay, well, we have all the research and data to prove that typical students, as well as obviously the students with disabilities, really grow academically, social, emotionally, and spiritually with full inclusion. But what I love to see now that's starting to happen when you are inclusive at the elementary level, and typical students are alongside students with significant disabilities for several years or for their entire experience, K through 8. What happens is an understanding, a deep understanding of the sacred and holy beauty of that, of all people. And so when they start to get ready to go to high school, those typical students start to say, hey, this is my friend. He's been with me all these years. I need him to come to my high school with me. And that has happened at several Catholic high schools. So these typical students have come and knocked on the doors of these Catholic high schools and said, see my friend, I need you to build something for him. And there is no more beautiful social justice in action than watching a child who understands equity at such a deep level to put themselves out there and knock on a high school door and speak to a room full of adults and ask for it. To me, it is the fruition of everything we know about Catholic social teachings in one moment, and it is really exceptional and beautiful.
And that's that's a very wonderful way to put it. People think about the benefits for the child, the exceptional learner, but they don't really see the benefits for the typical learner, if we can say typical learner, because everybody needs differentiation. But they never see the benefits that can happen for the other person. So I think it's like everything in special education, if I can use that term, the sooner we start, the better it is for all involved. So if we can get a child going with the right supports in a school, then I think it could benefit. So I'm really thankful that a lot of schools are taking the reins of the horse, so to say, and moving along with this. I also wanted to include, Beth, a great organization like the National Catholic Education Association, which has really not accepted, but taking the bull by the horn, so to say, with Pam Bernards and all the people out there,
Yes.
and developing professional development opportunities, that they're making it such an important part of their leadership academies and their new young leaders academies and all that, that they're taking exceptional learners. It isn't just a strand anymore, Beth. It's become
Nope.
something that's at the front of the room. Remember how they used to put our babies in the back of the school? Remember in the
Yes.
portables? I used to
Yeah.
be in the last portable in my school. So my joke was, leave me there. You really have to want to come and see me to go all the way to the back of the room. That way I can just do my thing back there or whatever. So I'm proud of the organizations just like NCEA. I'm proud of the Fire Foundation and Embrace and all these wonderful
Yeah.
organizations that are sponsoring and allowing families to have their children attend schools. So
Yeah.
I think it's for forgive the pun, it's a more inclusive approach to inclusion.
Well, 100%. Let's give the shout outs to those particular advocacy organizations. I'm just going to pretend people don't know anything about inclusion in Catholic schools. Please learn about FIRE, which is out of the Diocese of St. Joseph, Kansas City, Missouri. That group is 20 years old. That group has now created affiliates. There are 3 affiliates that have all happened within the past 2 years. Fire of Northeast Iowa for the Diocese of Dubuque, Iowa. Fire for New Hampshire, our first advocacy organization in the far Northeast. We do have some in New York, but way Northeast. And then Fire for the Diocese of Springfield, Illinois, Quincy, Illinois. So right off the bat, we have a lovely collaboration and connection of going there. We have one classroom for the Archdiocese of St. Louis, Missouri, doing amazing work. We have CCSE with Catholic Coalition for Special Education, working with 2 giant dioceses, the Archdiocese for Baltimore, Maryland, and the Archdiocese of Washington, D.C. We have iReach down in Florida. We have ICE in Portland, Oregon. We have
NCPD.
Spire. We have, of course, the NCPD, which is the giant one over all Catholic everything, parishes, schools, and everything. And then we have particular dioceses who have really made this their vision and their mission. You mentioned Grand Rapids, who is truly on fire with inclusion. We have Diocese of San Diego on fire with inclusion and supporting all teachers to get better. We have the Archdiocese of Los Angeles doing tremendous work with second language learners, which is, of course, spilling over into inclusive practices for all learners. We have Diocese of Galveston, Texas, doing incredible work. I don't want to forget Embrace, which is a truly gifted, beautiful organization from the Diocese of Kansas City, Kansas. That's our first organization that's run by millennials, which is beautiful to see.
Yes,
So
yes.
we have, and Embrace is working along with all of these other organizations to just build connections, and they can't help but spill over into other dioceses and influence other dioceses. It's really beautiful to see.
And I'd like to comment on my end. I can throw some love in my own archdiocese, the Archdiocese of Miami, for doing the great work that they're doing. I know that Gail Donahue is doing great work at Notre Dame of Maryland University with the ACES
Mm,
program that they have
yeah,
there.
yes.
There's just so much. I wish that I could mention more. The Diocese of Phoenix, I know
Yes.
has the manual that helps so many people out. Do you see where we're getting?
Diocese of Nashville,
Yeah, the
Tennessee,
diocese with
doing
Dr.
fantastic.
Hamill, right,
Yeah,
and the hand-to-hand program that they have there. There's just
yeah,
so many things that we can't say that there aren't enough resources for us to get started. That there,
absolutely not. If a family wants to do this, there are so many people willing to help and support you and support the school. So many.
there really is, and I think it's necessary for everybody out there to understand. In special education, from a public sector point of view, we always provide services for the families and the child, and we always put systems in place. That exists in so much more at a Catholic school and diocesan level right now. You have organizations that'll give you first steps as to what you have to do. There's organizations that might be able to fund you. There's lots of people that are willing to go out and help teachers service these children. There's centers in place that'll help schools set up systems. It's just we can't use the excuse of, well, I don't know how to do it anymore, Beth. It has to be done.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. And we can't use the excuse of money anymore, because this can all be done on a shoestring and is being done. And we really, honestly, I want to say a shout out of gratitude to the teachers who accept a student who've never had a student with a significant learning disability before and just welcomed them. If you just welcome them, God, that is allowing space for God to do his work. And the work, when you open, accepting a big open heart, and it slowly opens your mind, and you slowly can see the value that these children bring to the classroom and not the burden, you really will become a transformed teacher. So I'm so grateful to every teacher who embraces the discomfort and asks questions and works to be the best teacher they can for these students.
Amen. Beautifully said. And I want to add that I like to say when I'm presenting or and I know I'm not unique to this, as the first job of a Catholic school teacher is to get their students to heaven. That's their first
Yep,
job. So that only happens by that. Well, not that it only happened, but a good start to it is by welcoming all of God's children, who made them unique and unrepeatable, as Pope Francis says. So we need to make sure that that's a decisive first step. So as we're closing up, there's a couple more things that I wanted to talk about. We can't mention everybody. We can't mention everybody that's doing such wonderful work, but I wanted to give our listeners a heads up as to maybe some people that they can follow on Twitter. And again, I know
oh yeah,
my Twitter people, please forgive me if I don't mention everybody. We're just running out of time. But there's some people that I think as Catholic school people you need to follow to learn more about inclusion and God's plan into it. And I'll start with the inclusion chick that I'm talking to right now. No, I'm not being what is it, chauvinist in any way. That's actually her Twitter handle, inclusion chick.
that is,
Right.
that is,
I'll talk about Doreen Engel, who's
yes,
fantastic. It was a great Twitter follow. Not so much in special ed, but I'll look at my brother Jonathan Doyle, who's a great
yes.
inspiration for Catholic school teachers. Can you give me a couple, two or three that come to mind, Beth?
I love Michelle Leah from the Greeley Center. She's an amazing expert on reading. Sandria Morton from the Greeley Center, fantastic. Gail Donahue, Diane Elliott, Julie Cantillon, Abby Greer. Who else can I think of? There's just so many good people. Vicki Graff is on there. Christy Bonfiglio is on there.
Mike
Of
Boyle.
course, Michael Boyle is on
Right.
there. Pam Bernards is on there.
Right.
I love Jill Annabelle's on there from Grand Rapids.
Right.
Missy Meehan is from Grand Rapids. She's an amazing educator. Debbie Sapala is an amazing classroom teacher, just a fantastic inclusive educator. Who else? There's just I love all the people at O'Connell High School. So follow O'Connell High School, follow Paul VI, follow Cathedral Catholic, follow
Brooke Taché out of
JP too.
And I'm going to add Brooke Taché out of Allentown and all those great people that I've met recently there. John Paul II Learning Center, which is a fully inclusive place. You'd love that place, Beth. And
I need to know them. Yay.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of great things. And then again, I can't forget the people in New York. We have Dr. Noel Beal. We have Michael Deegan, the superintendent, Eileen Murtha, Marie O'Shea, all those wonderful people. And I know they have a very inclusive mindset because
so many.
Yeah, their teachers are wonderful.
So great. I'm glad to hear all that good work happening.
Oh.
I also have to shout out Julie Emery Johnson and the Diocese of Birmingham, Alabama, and all the good work they're doing. Incredible. So happy to see what they're doing.
And if we can continue with the accolades, we can't forget the good people of Ohio. I know Tim Riley has a school out there and he's helping a lot of principals become inclusive. So that's wonderful. Anyone else?
And Kathy Conroy, Diocese of Toledo, Vince Schmidt. So much good work happening all over Ohio. A really nice advocacy group is there. Really good work.
So again, friends, you're going to forgive us if we don't mention your program. It's just that, wow, there's just so many. We're going to have an episode 2.
Yes, have more gratefulness all around. We dream of a day where there is not enough time to thank all the people, and we're there right now. We don't have enough time to thank all the people doing the good work of inclusion in Catholic schools. And
really quick, if I can just add the students that have been on this podcast that have shared their experiences about going through an inclusive program, you're my hero. You really are, because you were making it work when it wasn't working at all. So shout out to you. So one thing is that I will add is we need a lot of prayers, my friends and my brothers and sisters. We need a lot of prayers for this to continue to take off, especially today, this week, as we're in the midst of Thanksgiving and we're there with our families and our best people. I ask for your prayers for God's will to continue to be done with the inclusive movement in Catholic schools, that it continue to grow in His name and according to His will, and that more people open their hearts, starting with dioceses and then schools, to allow God's children in. Amen.
Amen.
So with that being said, my friend, what should Catholic special education look like?
Catholic special education should look low floor, high ceiling. So what that means is the entrance is for everyone. Everyone can walk through the doors. There's a low floor, and everyone can access the information and can access their faith and access the social opportunities and friendships and connections that are part of being in a Catholic school. And then the ceiling is as high as it can go. So it can grow, all students can grow to be the faithful, the strong learners, the kind students, the compassionate, faithful Catholics that we hope that every child will be. That is what Catholic special education looks like to me.
Amen. Amen. And what a beautiful sentiment on this Thanksgiving week. So, Beth, I am very thankful for you and all the efforts that you're doing on behalf of God's special children. And I pray for many blessings for you and your family. And I thank you for being here.
I'm so very grateful for all the hard work you do, Raul. And I'm grateful for every educator out there and every family who stands and does this. Have a beautiful Thanksgiving, Raul.
Oh, you do as well. Many blessings, my friend.
Many blessings.
Well, that's it for this week. If this podcast was a blessing to you, can you please head over to iTunes and subscribe and give us a review or a rating? It really does help other Catholic educators find the podcast and use it as a resource. Thanks again to the amazing people at RCL Benziger for generously sponsoring this podcast. Check out their new resource for Catholic schools, Blessed Are We, Faith in Action, which enables teachers to share the love of Christ with children who have special needs. Visit rclbenziger.com to learn more. Join me again next time as we continue to advance God's kingdom by including all of God's children in Catholic schools and faith formation. Until then, this is Dr. Raul Escarpio. Thanks for listening, and may God bless your day.